Hello. Today I want to talk about one of my favorite subjects, and that is the white petals, the white flower narcotic materials. So your Alsafir, hello. And also I can bet you that Miss Roxana is watching me right now on the big screen. Roxana, I love you so much, and I am so sorry you're not feeling well. And I hope that you are taking care of yourself and enjoying this video. Thank you guys who are joining me in the chat room. Although I won't focus too much on the chat room unless you have specific questions about what we're talking about today. So I thought we would do narcotics together. Won't that be fun? Roxana, you're probably on narcotics right now, being sick. So I'm going to do some narcotics with you. So let me move this out of the way because I don't need that. So what I thought I would do is, this is kind of twofold and maybe helpful for two sets of people. So some people who are wanting to make some like narcotic accords, and then some people who want some narcotic materials, some different compounds, some different notes that are in the white petals to go into their formulas. So what I'm talking about with the white petals are going to be the tuberose. Tropical tuberose is so beautiful. And speaking of that, Roxana, I'm going to talk to you right now. So I will contact you next month about planting your tuberose. Tuberose things are almost like in between a bulb and a tuber. They're not quite a bulb and they're not quite a tuber. They look like a blend of the two. So it's kind of funny to know what to call them, but I'll just call them a tuber. But I'll contact you and give you instructions about where the best place is to plant it and that kind of stuff. And if you guys can get your hands on tuberose tubers to plant, depending on where you live, they're amazing. Holy cow. So tuberose, gardenia, the jasmine, and then the orange blossom, like orange blossom. Steam distilled is neroli, orange blossom, absolute. Very, very narcotic. More so than the neroli, but kind of simpler. But the absolute orange blossom is way more complex. And then like osmanthus as well. But anyway, one thing that those have in common are going to be indole. Indole, this I've double checked, and to my knowledge, this is the natural indole. This is at 1%, and look at the color. That's at 1%. It will, so if this is at 1%, this color is at 1%, then you need to know it's going to discolor your fragrances. So this is about as dark as it's going to get at 1%, just so you know. And then if I take it out, it's obviously not quite as, it's like a very dark pink color, you know, and just a drop or two in your fragrance is not going to discolor it that much, but it is discoloring, just so you know. Especially, so this will come in a powder form and you'll need to dilute it. I'm not sure if you can buy it already diluted. I don't remember creatingperfume.com. But anyway, this material is very interesting because, So if you'll look at this color, what happens is when you pick any of these flowers, like literally pick it off the plant, it's going to start to decay. And what happens is on those white petals on the very tips, on the around, sometime in the very center, it'll turn pink. That's the indoles. So when we die and start to decay, we start to form indole molecules. And it's that not a definite smell of death, no, but it's kind of there. And in a small, tiny, minute amount, it's then boop. It just is. But it basically is the smell of, some people call it the smell of death, but it's it's just not on its own. So I feel sometimes I get like where I am right this second is like I have 500 things I want to say all at once. So I need to slow down. So it is sweet. It's sweet, but not like candy because it has a weird aroma. It is a little weird, but if you smell this by itself and then you get your tuberose, you can smell it. So I'll tell you, when I had my tuberose, I made and I have it right here, my tuberose tincture. I got my tuberose flowers and I did an enfleurage and I did a tincture. I wanted to do both because I'd never done either one. And I know this is much preferable and it is beautiful and crazy, but this worked out really well as well. And I was like, what? I didn't expect it. Oh my God. Oh, so gorgeous. Holy Moses. But so before I cut my flowers off, and you don't cut the stems, with tuberose, you cut the flowers off at the very bottom. That's how you cut tuberose, the best way. And you put in a little glass of water. But before you cut it, if you smell the tuberose flowers, and then you cut the flowers off, and then you have a handful of those little flowers that you cut off, I promise you, I've done it over and over, and I let my roommate, who has an amazing nose as well, I let him smell, and seriously, it changes within the first 30 seconds, but then you could just keep smelling it, go away, smell it again, like every 10 seconds, and it's just changing and changing and changing, and it's even more complex because some of the indoles are starting to form. That's why you'll just see some of these start to turn yellowy brown with a tiny bit of red in it. It's the indoles. It's the death part. So this is one of those materials that now I'm comfortable using. Very comfortable using it. I'm not scared at all. I love it. Not a problem. But if you are going to do, let me speak about accords really quick. If you're going to do a tuberose accord, a gardenia accord, a jasmine accord, orange blossom accord, it's in honeysuckle. It is in those naturally. This is natural indole. It is in those. You want to use this in those accords. It may take you a little bit to become, I guess, not afraid to use it, because for some people it's just stinky. To me, it's not stinky. You definitely want to do it at 1%, even lower if you needed to, 0.1%. You can dilute it to, because you do need to dilute it. The more you dilute it, the sweeter it's going to become. So this 1% is perfect for me. I really, really like it, and it smells sweet, and it is. Now it's amazing to me. In the beginning, it was just kind of weird. I think it takes time to grow on you, but it is a definite. It will, if you are making those accords, excuse me, those accords that I just mentioned, and you don't add indole, it will be missing something. This will be noticeably missed for sure. I promise you that. I'm going to give you, this video is going to be a longer video. I'm just here to tell you, but I'm going to give you an extra that I've just learned that has to do with, I'm going to just stick to orange blossom. So let's say you're making an orange blossom accord, or you really want an orange blossom note. I'm not, part of it, that this like the pollen-y kind of aroma when you smell the fresh orange blossom, or when you smell orange blossom absolute, there is that, or osmanthus absolute, you're going to smell that hardcore pollen-like aroma. I'm going to tell you how to get it. Petitgrain. Now, there's a number of petitgrains out there, okay? So I have from Eden Botanicals, and I love this one. Oh my God. It is Petitgrain sur Fleurs. What that is, so the petitgrain is the bitter orange tree. They will take, well, that's the Beauregard. The orange tree, they will take the leaves, and if you just steam distill that is petitgrain. What they will also take the twigs, so stems and twigs, and that's steam distilled, that's petitgrain. Well, what they'll do is they'll take the stems and leaves, and they'll take some of the orange blossom flowers. Just about of the whole makeup, it's just about 8% flowers, and they'll put it with that and steam distill it. And so there's a little bit of a floral aroma, and that's the Petitgrain sur Fleurs, Fleurs, French for flowers. So that is what this is. And then they also have, Eden Botanicals has Petitgrain Absolute, and I diluted mine down. And you can add these two to your orange blossom absolute accord that you're making. It will give you that pollen-y note. Oh my God. And to me, that's one of those notes that is absolutely in there in your absolutes. To me, mostly with osmanthus and orange blossom absolute, but that's how you get that note. I figured it out, and I love it. Anyway, so that's an extra. Just wanted to share that with you. Even if you wanted a pollen-y note in your fragrance, and I mean a drop of those. Petitgrain is very, very strong and will completely take over. So you can like dilute it down to like a 10% and add just a little bit of that to your fragrance formula, and it will do that. But you need to go light on it. So anyway, that is indole. So again, we are going over the white petal materials. So different materials that will help make up the white petal notes. This one, cyclopidine. I'm probably saying it wrong. People out there laughing at me. It's from Firmenich. Cyclopidene. This is also known as, oh my God, tuberose acetate. Hello, it had the name tuberose in it. I had to buy it. Like, I love tuberose. So the other name for it is tuberose acetate. It is a top note. Interestingly enough, top note, 18 hours. You talk about sweet. I know Alora, if you're watching, she's out there going, holy cow, that stuff is so sweet. It absolutely is. So what I'm saying with these that I'm going over today is that these are one part of your white petal aroma. So it's just one part of it. So if 10 things make up the white petal note, 10 different materials, this is just one of those things. So just making sure that I'm being clear with you, because it's not like you add these 5 things up that I'm going to go over, and that's your white petal accord. No. But this is this is a modifier. To me, I'm going to say blender as well. I don't know if it's necessarily a blender. It's a modifier for white flower notes, for white. Anytime you're using white petal stuff, you will want to use this. I love this one. Holy Moses, it is sweet, clean, almost like transparent, like, but sweet, like a narcotic sweet, like holy Moses, that is sweet. And that's how you're going to get that narcotic-y super sweet. And that's going to be one aspect of your whole narcotic white petal, let's say, accord that you're going to make. And this is the reason this is important. 2 things. One, for the super crazy sweetness that it is. And then 2, it gives lift and diffusion. So it's going to take that heavy narcotic, all these materials that are just sitting at the bottom and just super heavy, and it's going to diffuse them and lift them up so it's not so heavy. That's why this is important to me. But of course, I love the super crazy sweetness to it, and it's not a sugary sweet. It's just not. So ethyl maltol, no, it's not like that at all. No, this is completely different. This is a floral, narcotic floral sweetness, but very clean. To me, a must-have. Oh my God, it's a tuberose acetate. Are you kidding me? Oh my God. Brandon, welcome. Roxanne, oh my God, here she is. Oh my God, I see you in the chat room. And Anna, I see you as well. Glad you guys are here. Thank you so much. So those are those 2. The next one is isoeugenol acetate. So there's a couple of things that you can use. What up, Corey? Like eugenol. This is isoeugenol acetate. I'm gonna give you a little hint. When you see the word acetate, this is one of those times, take notes, people. When you see the word acetate with any of your stuff, think, oh, the juiciness of it. So linalool acetate, it will give a little more juiciness to your linalool. Whatever acetate, it's going to give a little bit of a juiciness to when you add it to the other material that is corresponding to that acetate. See what I'm saying? Like, so keep that in your head when you are formulating with acetate. Just that's kind of a side note, but it's actually not a side note. That's actually really a good thing to remember when you want something to be a little bit more juicy. That's how you do it. Acetate. So this is spicy floral balsam for the oriental and carnation. So if you're doing an Oriental or a Carnation, this is a must. Of course, Eugenol's for Carnation. This one, however, is not restricted. It is 400 hours, something to kind of know, and that it's a middle note and a bass. So it's going to be around for a long time. So this is, it comes in a crystal form. I don't think in crystal powder form. I don't, possibly you can buy it diluted. I don't remember. This is another one where I don't remember if it is just, if it's diluted or it's just the powder. But anyway, if it's just the powder, it's still worth getting. It's still worth getting and making it yourself. It will kind of crystallize kind of easy. That's the white that you see on the end of my dropper there. But a little bit of heat, you're good to go. This one is a little bit more forgiving. It's a little bit lighter. It's a little bit juicier. So it's, to me, if you're like, oh, the Eugenols, the spicy, clovey spice stuff, this smells so, you might think, oh, does it smell like cloves? No. It has that hint of clove in the background. So it is not in the foreground. So this is much more forgiving when you use it. It is not heavy. It is not super strong. It's very clean to me. There is spice, but it's not a heavy spice by any stretch of the imagination. Very forgiving. Isoeugenol acetate. I highly recommend it. And if it is just in crystal form, it's worth it. It's worth it to get it and dilute it down yourself. So the next one, amyl cinnamic aldehyde. And I really like this one's I really, really like this one because if you are one of those people, again, this video would be for you because tuberose, gardenia, jasmine, like jasmine absolute, and like osmanthus and orange blossom absolute. So those right here, amyl cinnamic aldehyde. It is bright. Let me get it where it doesn't drip. It's brighter than it appears. Let me see if I can do this. There, very bright. See how bright that is? So when I used to hear the words cinnamon or cinnamic or cinnamol or whatever, cinnamic, I used to think, oh, it's going to smell like cinnamon. No, that is deceptive in perfumery materials. So that you need to know. It's very, very good to know that just because it says cinnamic does not mean it's going to smell like cinnamon. There are one or two that do. Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. But there are a number. One of my favorites is linalool cinnamate. Linalool cinnamate. Holy Moses. I love linalool cinnamate. Smells nothing like cinnamon. What that is it's a sweetener. It will sweeten up your formula, and it's a blender. That's that story. Back to this. This is restricted to 10% in the formula. It's also 256 hours, 250 hours, whatever, a long time. It is a middle note. This has a tiny bit of, well, it's sweet, oily. It's so funny when I say the word oily, when it smells oily, but it's kind of an oily smell. I don't know how to communicate that, but it has a little bit of an oily smell. Fruity, but there's a slight honey to me. And it's in the background, so I'm not saying, oh, it smells like honey. No. But this is definitely jasmine, gardenia, and tuberose. You want to use this for sure. It does not take a lot. It does not take a lot. You will not need much, but it is definitely one of those that without this, you're missing an element of those three. That's why I picked it out, because to me, it's an important part of jasmine, gardenia, tuberose. Next one is dihydroisojasminate. So we're not confused. There is a dihydrojasminate. No, this is dihydroisojasminate. It is 124 hours. It's a middle note, and the purpose, it's diffusive. You need diffusive materials when you're making this kind of stuff, because it really is just heavy and it will just sink, and meaning your whole, let's just say your tuberose accord or your gardenia accord and osmanthus accord, that kind of thing, those things are just very, very heavy and narcotic and just heavy moleculed. So you do need some things that are diffusive. And this is one of those things that's diffusive. It gives a little bit of floral green. Now, it's not super green, but there is a little bit of green note in here, which is awesome. You want to have, in moderation, you want to have a green note, like a green stem, like I have a green stem accord. Perfect in a formula where you are making a fragrance that is a jasmine fragrance or a gardenia fragrance or a tuberose fragrance. You want to have a little bit of green stem. You want to have a little bit of a green note in your fragrance because it gives naturalness. It smells more natural when you have that in there. So that's why this is important. This also can be rounding when you have some sharper notes in a formula. This you can use up to 30% as well. So you can use a lot of this. To me, this is more about jasmine. Again, this goes in any of the ones that I talked about in this video. It absolutely can. Just like Hedione and Hedione HC, I can put right out here as well. It's going to be great for those that will absolutely fit in within any of these. This is a little similar to me. This is just the diffusive material. Diffusive material, and you want a diffusive material. And that is, so this is important. So I said this one, the cyclopidine, it is diffusive as well. But the problem with this one is that you're not going to be able to use that much because it's going to be way too sweet. This is really, really sweet. It is diffusive and you want that. But this one, however, you can use a lot more of, and it's almost, it's going to hide itself. It's not so fragrant in your face. It's more like Hedione HC. to the high C's. This is a little bit more like that and will bring your whole formula and being diffusive. That's why I want to tell you about this one again, dihydroisojasminate. That's why this one is important, because you can, again, use it in a higher amount, and it's very, very diffusive. So this is your workhorse. This is your worker to get that stuff off the ground and lift it up, because this stuff that you're making, these white petals, are going to be very, very heavy. So same thing in a fragrance, where your fragrance is a tuberose surrounded by other little notes. This will be helpful. Fragrance. If you had a like a gardenia fragrance, and you have just some notes around it, a little bit of wood, a little bit of green, a little bit of, whatever different things, to give that whole fragrance lift, because gardenia is so heavy, this can be very helpful. I'm going to see what's going on if anybody has any questions. Brandon asked, could you ever accept questions in email? Absolutely. Denver rocks. Like, Denver is awesome. Denver rocks at me.com. That is my email. For those of you who are beginners, I'm sorry if this is confusing for you. There are definitely some other videos that I've already made that you can check out that can be really helpful. So when I say, let me go over that really, really quick then, with your 1%, 10%, and you're like, I don't understand that. So what that means is, when you buy a material, that's not a good one. I can't think of a material. Okay. Bad material, but whatever. So when you go and you buy wintergreen essential oil, it is too strong. Like, it smells like wintergreen. It's kind of weird. So what we want to do in Perfumery is we want to dilute it with perfumer's alcohol. So I'm going to get a scale out, because you want to weigh everything, and you want to do 1% wintergreen and 99% perfumer's alcohol. There are a few other things you can use besides this, but I want to stay really basic to catch you up. So what you will do is, in an empty jar, in an empty dropper, you will put that on the scale, and you're going to weigh, like, you'll put like 1 drop of your wintergreen in your bottle, and that'll give you the weight of it. And then you will calculate 99 times that, and you're going to add that much perfumer's alcohol to it. That's going to equal 100%. So that means you have wintergreen at 1%. Well, wintergreen at 1% has tons of incredible, amazing facets to it. And it doesn't smell like wintergreen. It will be very different. It's obviously still the wintergreen, but when you dilute it, that's what we just did, is we diluted the wintergreen to 1%. That's all I mean by diluting your materials, more of the aroma will come out. And sometimes when we buy something like wintergreen, it's too concentrated. We can't use it like that. It's just way too concentrated. We need to bring the concentration down to 10% or 1%. Wintergreen, 1%. That could be a whole nother video because there's some cool stuff you can do with that. So the same thing with indole. We have to bring that down to a 1%. Indole is just way too crazy. It's way too strong. So that's why we dilute it. And then that is where this stuff takes time, because some things need to be diluted. Some things don't. You can dilute or you cannot dilute. And you can dilute to 10%. Some people dilute all their stuff to 20%, except for aldehydes, which are going to be that. See, that's where it just can get to be a little crazy and a lot of stuff, because like your true aldehydes do need to be diluted to 1% or even less. If you're doing everything's at 20%, I would dilute your aldehydes to 0.1%. If I were you, if I was one of those people, which a lot of you are, where you dilute all of your stuff to 20%, I would dilute your aldehydes to 0.1%. So, so I'm reading the stuff. Corey, jasmilactone. Yes, let me go get it really quick. So this jasmilactone is one of my materials. That's one of my little secrets, because not everybody carries it. So I'll just go over it really quick. And you're like, why are you going to go over it when you can't get it? You can get it. It's going to take you some work to get it. It's not at creatingperfume.com. I think it's at some other places. This one is jasmine lactone. So, which is the fatty, kind of coconut kind of like fatness that is in tuberose, that is in jasmine, that's in gardenia. You will want a lactone, so think milky, in those three for sure. Oh my God. It will just, if you don't have a lactone in those, in this, what we're making today, you're missing a major component that's important. It doesn't mean that component, just because I say it's a major component, doesn't mean you have to put a lot of it in there. No, it's just a major component, just like indole is a major component. Put 1 drop, that's it, and you're good. But it's still a major component. Jasmilactone is the same. So if you cannot get your hands on jasmilactone, oh my God, it smells like jasmine that has just been fattened up. Oh my God, it's so amazing. It's really, really good. I put rich floral lactone, jasmine petal, tiny bit of peach, tiny bit of apricot is in here, a tiny bit of like coconut milk, not coconut, but like coconut milk. And you just need a trace amount of this stuff. You don't need a lot. You do not need a lot. It's 336 hours. It's totally a base. Oh my gosh, it's so amazing. Oh my God, I would want to wear it by itself. Oh my God, it's so good. If you, like I was saying, if you cannot get this, if you cannot find this, I told you this video was going to be a long video. You can use Velvetone. Oh no, hold on. Now I have to get it. Velvetone. Yeah, Velvetone's musk. Velvetone, Veloutone. This is another jasmine lactone that you can get at creatingperfume.com. It is similar. It's just lighter and not quite as much lactone. This is heavy, thick lactone. Very, very, probably 4 times the amount of lactone is in the jasmine lactone than the Velvetone. Though this is jasmine lactone, that's what this is, and it has that same like peach apricot in it as well, all that kind of stuff. This is just lighter and a little bit cleaner and not near as heavy. But this one is heavy, and oh my god, it's so good. It's awesome. It's really good. Although I've done videos on this one, and you know I love it. If you've watched my videos, I love it. Brandon, thank you so much. I'm glad you have been watching my videos. I'm glad it's my point. I'm glad you watch them. No, I'm glad you watch them if they're helpful for you. That is my purpose, is to educate, and hopefully they are helpful to you. That's what I care about more. So Brandon says he used IPM to dilute civet. It was way too strong. Brandon, what did you dilute your civet down to? Like, did you do a 1%? And what civet was it? Was it civet paste or something different? That's my question. And I'll just read some more while you answer me if you're able to. Brandon says they have this at Perfumer's Supply House. Awesome. Yeah, so civet, civet is one of those materials that the real thing is absolutely amazing, like a civet paste, and the civet artificial is not great. Not gonna lie to you, it's just one of those that's not gonna be the same. Not quite the same. It just isn't. It's not that it's horrible, but when you dilute down your civet paste, it will be sweet. Sweet. Really neat and awesome. Just like when you dilute down your indole, where it goes from like crazy weird to just becoming sweeter and sweeter and amazing. Same thing for civet paste. You just may need to dilute it. Look, it ain't gonna hurt. If you have some more of your civet, do it to a 0.1%. Trust me, do it down to a 0.1%. And because look, if you dilute your stuff down really, really low, that's better. It's okay, because all you have to do is put more drops. If it's just too low, you just put more drops in your formula. But if it's like in civet paste at 10%, good Lord, one drop is going to take over and it's not going to be okay. Like, it's better to dilute, to err on the side of diluting too low than not diluting low enough. If you dilute it too high, you're going to have more problems than you will if you dilute too low. There you go. The other thing that is, if you don't have the indole, there is a substitute indole arome indole arome. It's all one word. Indole with arome with INDOLEAROME. Creatingperfume.com. You are going to need to dilute that down. I diluted mine down to a 1%. I have my bottle right there. It's just indole arome, 1%. You need to, and it is not the same. It's just not. But it has its place and it's good. It's a little bit like almost, I was going to say warm and fuzzy. No, it's not warm and fuzzy. I was thinking of a different one. Animalic hypo. Animalis hypo is what I was thinking. But the indole arome at 1% is forgiving and it's not bad. It's just not quite as sweet as the indole 1%. And don't freak out. This is 1%. Look how dark that is. But it's awesome. So one other thing that I'm going to teach you right now, and I'm kind of going on a different subject, but really important. And this is whatever. It is what it is. So with your aldehydes, and I mean your true aldehydes, so your aldehyde 14, 16, 18, those are not aldehydes. That's your strawberry, your peach, your coconut. Those are not aldehydes. They're called whatever aldehyde, blah. They're not really aldehydes. So I'm talking your lower number aldehydes, the kind that will knock you off your feet, like C12, C12MNA, C11, C10, all those. That's what I want to talk about for a few minutes, okay? I probably should just stop this and make a new video, but I'm going to just tell you anyway because I'm on a roll. Storage for those is very important because it is an aldehyde. With a true aldehyde, you don't want to store it at 100%. You want to store them at 50%. If you have room, if you have really big bottles, you can store them at 10%. But if you don't, at least store your aldehydes at 50% in perfumer's alcohol, because they will oxidize, they will change, they will start to crystallize, and they will start to, you'll start to get off notes, that kind of stuff, and that's when you need to trash it. They're not that expensive, they're not that bad, but it's just one of those materials. Don't buy an ounce of it. You are never going to use that much. Buy smaller, like at most ½ ounce of your true aldehydes. But when you get it home, make your 0.1% or your 1% material to have out and use when you're formulating, and then make a brand new bottle where it is like a brand new bottle where it is a 50%. So that's how you're going to store it. And don't store it with a dropper. Store it with a normal cap. And your caps need to have the little, see that little thing in there? The bottom, I forgot why. I don't know why I forgot the name of that little thing. But anyway, it shouldn't be the flat kind. It should be the kind like that with the plastic like that. And that's how you want to store it. Store all your aldehydes at 50% alcohol, perfumer's alcohol. And of course, label it that, but that's when you can store it for way longer and it will not mess the material up, because you will start to get off notes and you don't want that to happen. So I have another question. I'll go ahead and go into it now. That's cashmeran and norlimbol, norlimbinol. Yes, they will come to you crystallized and in like almost a solid-ish form. So what everybody does when you get your Cashmeran is you're going to take your half-ounce bottle of Cashmeran and you're going to turn it into a 1 ounce by doing a 50%. So you will always be working with Cashmeran 50%. However, if you're one of those 20% people, fine. Turn your brand new bottle of Cashmeran into a 20% Cashmeran. No big deal. But if you do all your stuff at 100% like I do, then do a 50% Cashmeran. But that's what everybody does. So when I have my formula, if you look at my my books, my formula books, you're going to see Cashmeran 50%. That's what's going to be every single time. Cashmeran 50%. Same thing with that's not. Let me grab it. So with the now I'm going to tackle the next one that you talked about, norlimbinol, very, very strong, 10%. You want to dilute this one down to a 10%. So 10% norlimbinol and 90% IPM, isopropyl myristat, or perfumer's alcohol, one of those. Yeah, it's a very, very strong material. Beautiful, but very strong. So and even in the 10%, you will not use many drops in a formula. You will start with 1 drop, 10% in a formula. See how that goes. Check it after a day or two. Check your whole formula after a day or two. See how it smells. Then, if you want to add another drop of it, it's one of those you've got to get to know this material. It's a beautiful material, but it's one you're going to have to get to know because it will absolutely take over and you won't smell anything else. And it's one of those materials that can kind of hide because it's not strong as in take over your nose and is strong. It's just this is one of those materials that's a dry woody amber, and those can be a little silently powerful. So that's that. Let me see if there is anything else. So the other thing you can do, sorry, I totally forgot. So when you have your Cashmeran at 100%, the bottle that you just got home, you're going to want to heat it on, some people, there's 2 ways to heat it. You can get a little, do a water bath, or you can get, the coffee warmers, the coffee plate warmers. That's what I use. And you're just going to stick it on there. Make sure you unscrew the top, and just let it air, have a little bit of air. And the whole entire Cashmeran will turn to a liquid. Then when it's turned to that liquid, then you're going to do your 50-50 in your bigger bottle. So that's what you'll do. Same thing with norlimbinol. Heat it. It'll turn all liquid. And then it'll turn it into a 10%. Like, I mean, there are some people who take the galaxolide and heat it every single time they're going to use it, but most people just turn it into a 50% dilution and you'll be good to go. And that's how almost everybody uses it. So no need to heat it every single time. It's just going to be a headache for you, and you're going to be like, whatever, I don't want to go through the trouble of heating it. And it's a really great material. So go ahead and change it over so you'll use it more. Let's see. Yeah, so that is a lot of stuff. And hopefully that was helpful for you guys. I'm almost at an hour. I'm going to take a small little break. But first, hold on. So I'm going to, if you guys have any things you want me, like certain materials, you're like, I have no idea about this material and I want to know it, put it in there, right in the chat, and I'll do a video on it. And I'll write it down, like kind of like now, or something you want me to go over, some whatever. It doesn't have to be a certain material. It could be, I don't know, how do you do this or whatever. So let me know now. And while you're doing that, I'm going to tell you, so if you like this and if this is helpful for you and you want to contribute just a little bit to me, you can do that at my Patreon page. And that is at patreon.com/Mountain Aromatics. And there, you know, all kinds of people have Patreon pages and that kind of stuff. So there I have different tiers of people who help me with different amounts, and I give you something. So I give formulas, my own personal formulas. I send in the mail fragrance samples and accord samples. And that is how I thank you for helping me. The other thing you can do is I make my own accords. I love making accords, and I have tons of new accords I've really been studying lately. And Roxana, there are tons of new ones. Oh my God, and I'm getting better because I'm learning more. So that is how you can help me, is purchase my accords, which will help you. And I sell them in different sizes. And I will put the PDF below after this is over, so you can click on that link, and then you can just email me at denverrocks@me.com, and we can correspond that way. And payments are easy. We can talk about that like in the email or whatever. And hopefully that is, I'll put my link to my Patreon page as well, but it's really simple. Just you go to patreon.com/Mountain Aromatics, and you can sign up there, and that would be really awesome and really helpful. And also I put information and stuff, and I'm planning on doing that today for people who don't even donate. I put information up there as well, and I'll put new information up there. So I put like PDFs that can be really, really helpful with perfumery and that kind of stuff. So I will need to update my accords list today because I've been really working on it. So here comes personal stuff. So now we got all that kind of stuff out of the way. So I haven't been posting videos in the last, well, a couple of months. So, well, my little puppy passed away, and it was very unexpected. And it was my little rat terrier. And I had a really, really difficult time with it, and it's still very difficult. It just is. And I did nothing with Perfumery for almost 2 months, and I don't know why. Because normally this is my kind of go-to and very therapeutic for me, but for some reason I just couldn't, and I don't know why. I couldn't do anything. Like normally, I mean, I do formulas, I do accords, I do studying, I do all kinds of different stuff, but I couldn't. And so making videos is harder. It's more involved. So I really didn't feel like doing that. And so in the last month, so in the last 4 weeks or so, I have stepped back into it to where I'm like, I'm okay with doing it. And I have been studying my brains out because there's a lot to learn. And I want to be able to give you guys real information that's helpful, but also where I know what I'm talking about, and doesn't mean I know everything, because good God, but I want to learn. So when I say I've been spending about 8 to 12 hours a day, I'm not lying. Promise you. Been studying, and that doesn't count like my formulations, but like really studying for about 8 to 12 hours a day for the past month. So now I feel like I'm going to be much more helpful with doing videos, because I'm self-taught. And but I appreciate your love and your concern and that kind of stuff. I don't have family here. My family is 1,500 miles away, and most of them are not supportive of me as a human being. So my little chopper was my personal family. He was my only family member that I had. It was my first dog, and he was 12. That's why it was really difficult. I mean, every single day for 12 years, he was by my side and like camping, and, slept beside me in the bed, and just was a lap dog. Oh my God, was he a lap dog? He's so sweet. But so that's just why it was like really, really difficult for me. And one, it was unexpected, and then two, I didn't expect that to happen, where I would just be like, I can't do perfumery stuff. I just can't do it. And I just was like, well, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm going to step away from it until I'm ready to do it again. So that's kind of where I've been. And I am going to take a break, and I'm going to start up another video, probably for you who are like joining me right now, probably in about, 5 to 10 minutes, because it takes time for this to upload to YouTube, and then for me to be able to start a new one. But I'm going to start a new one, and it'll be on something completely different. And let me see if any of you asked any questions for new videos. Sorry, I'm taking the time to read. Okay. I don't see any requests in the chat room, so I will be back in a bit for those of you who are here right now with a new video. And thank you so much. I appreciate your love and your support, and I hope you have a good day.